So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over where we're at in the United States as far as Unity and blood bank applications. I want to do a couple review of some of the requirements that I think Unity is going to be really ideal in helping you trend some results. And I hopefully throughout this whole process, going through the study, the pilot study, and what we saw, as well as the future enhancements we're going to do, I really want to convince you that I think there's a need to do this and that you'll want to do this. So let's see how this goes. Okay, hopefully you all texted in because we're in the session now. Let me go back because this is important. Please text AABB IWS on your, but I really want you to participate. And the reason is, one, I don't have to know what your answers are from each of you individually, but I want you to see what I'm seeing as I travel around the US, okay? And I think this is a very effective way to get this point across. Okay, so as I was looking at this, I was most familiar with, there's so many different regulatory agencies out there. It can be very cumbersome, difficult to discern and decipher what you have to do or not, because even though there's a lot of overlap in the QC requirements, there's nuances in how they're stated and addressed, so then you might interpret it a little bit different. So I went through CAP, AABB, and the Joint Commission requirements, and I counted over 80 quality control or other regulatory requirements that Unity either directly supports or really enhances you meeting the requirements. So let's go through a couple of them. This one I thought was kind of important. This is relatively new as of 2014. You can see it was in the All Common Checklist from CAP, and this one covered the comparability of instruments and methods. And with that, a lot of blood bankers got kind of stressed out when that first came out, just because we're like, I have to go to the All Common Checklist now too. Generally, we just stuck with our transfusion medicine checklist and you would be good to go. But they wanted to make sure that you did that periodically because a lot of people do use different methodologies. The QC data, quality control data, may be used for this, and that's what I've seen a lot of people do very effectively. Okay, and then also another one that came out at the same time was the new reagent lot confirmation of acceptability. And the point behind this one was that you kind of had to set up some type of criteria as to whether or not it was acceptable. And you want to see if there's going to be a shift and how that may affect your patient results. Okay, so this is the first interactive question. How does your facility demonstrate the comparability of methods or lots? So if you have to type in, and they're not listed, they should be, but you're going to type in A, if it's manual worksheets that you use or hard copy reports, B, analyzer printouts, hard copy reports, etc. So type in the best answer. Oh, there it goes. Oh, exciting. Okay, well, it came out exactly as I've been observing around the US. So it's a lot of people still do a lot of manual worksheets, hard copy reports, but a lot of people also do a combination of methods because they're automated. So they'll print out their automated report and they use both. So pretty much what I've seen across the board. Okay, all right. The other thing I looked at was record retention. Some of the US customers that approached Bio-Rad and were interested in this, or that we talked to, they were interested because they want to get away from manual records, right? So you could see 10 years to maintain manual records can be a bit challenging sometimes. So Unity's great for having these records available. Okay, here is the second survey question. I want to know, what methods do you use to record QC? A, manual worksheets. B, LIS. That includes graded reactions and interpretations. C, testing analyzer, automated platform. D, other QC software. Or E, a combination of methods above. Okay, I'll give you another second. I still see some responses coming in. Okay, well, we'll cut it off here, but it's exactly what I'm seeing. A lot of manual records, it's usually the primary, and of course there's just as many people that have automated platforms, so there's a good combination. The majority is automated platforms and manual records. Okay, so here's another survey question. This one I did a little different. I think it's kind of neat how this one will present. So I want you to free text in what percentage of QC records do you maintain hard copy? Okay. Now this is neat. As you can see, as people send in their responses, if more people continue with the same response, like you could see that one, the hundred's getting big, so a lot of people maintain their records as hard copy records. That's pretty cool. Majority of people maintain hard copy records. Wow, that's what I see. How beautiful is that? So that's what you can see too. Everyone's in the same boat here. We have all these different places, but a lot of people still resort back to hard copy manual records. So here's the one thing though that really surprised me as I was going over each of these regulatory requirements. I thought, and I don't know if it was my training or if it just kind of made sense to me, I have no idea where I got this, but I really thought there was more of an emphasis on us being required to trend reactivity of reagents. And I know I thought about it when I had automated testing platforms and we didn't trend our automated platforms, but I was adamant that you want to be able to trend your manual reagents at least. So when I looked through this, I was surprised there was really no direct requirement. And what I mean by direct is when you read the requirement in blue, it doesn't say anywhere that you have to trend. However, if I go down into the notes, then I can find some mention of having to detect trends, okay? And there was one other one. Of course, it is in the all-common checklist again, which blood bankers focus on the transfusion medicine checklist. Okay, and here was the other one. This one was in the transfusion medicine checklist, but I don't see it again in the direct requirement. It's kind of hidden down as I go lower into the notes. Okay, and there it is. You have to detect outliers, trends, and omissions. You have to address them. Okay, so with that, I am going to ask you guys to kind of help me with this one. So here's another survey question. I want to know, do you guys actually trend your QC results? Now this can be automated, it can be manual. I just want to see, do you guys trend your QC results? You can see the options, yes, no, sort of. Yeah, that's what I expected. Sort of is the biggest answer. And I'll bet you say that because you have your manual worksheets where you can do some trend analysis, and then you have your automated platforms where generally you do none. Am I correct? Yeah, that's what I've seen. I say that because you get some kind of manual worksheet like this, so you do have some trending going on. You can generally see what's happening. But if you're doing automated, most people don't go back, pull out those results, and then plot them or do any trend analysis. Okay, so that was why we wanted to get this pilot study going, because I am a big proponent, being the master black belt for Lean Six Sigma. I love data because I'm always surprised at what it shows me, always. So, and again, I did find some things that I just went, wow. Well, so I want to take you through it. So as I went through the first phase, I thought, well, let's get some participants on board, see who's willing to go through the pain of working this out. And I had a few. And then building the QC assays. There's, the system has to be ready to receive data, so we have to build the templates in the system, okay? In the Quality Systems Division, who own Unity and do all the QC stuff at Bio-Rad, they're pretty sharp because they've been doing it a long time, so they were slowing me down that, wait a second, we really want to standardize this, because by standardizing it, then you can do that peer group comparison. If we just let everybody do whatever they want, they're not going to get the full benefit of the program. So that was all part of phase one process. Okay, so I ended up getting 5 sites to commit to being part of this. So the first one, Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, Loma Linda University Medical Center, Hennepin Healthcare System in Minnesota. And then I had to always go back, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of partial to my military sites because I got to take care of my buddies, they take care of me. So I went back to 2 sites in Texas, Darnell Army Medical Center and Brooke Army Medical Center, or San Antonio Military Medical Center, as it's also known by, because I'll get in trouble if I don't use the right name. Okay, the reason I focused on these sites is because of their interest. They had some unique questions and aspects on how they wanted to do things, so I really thought they were the best candidates. The military sites, I think if I can get the military up and running with all the security issues, slam dunk, we can get up and running anywhere. So we built this QC assays, and I don't need to go into detail. In the beginning, we were focusing on Bio-Rad reagents, Bio-Rad controls, Bio-Rad equipment, okay? There were some other vendors that were included in this pilot because of what the methodologies they were using, but that was the focus, okay? And those are just some examples, it's not all inclusive, okay? And then of course we realized customers do want to have some flexibility and determine how they want to track this or select the configuration. I had one site that was adamant, I don't want to evaluate my QC assay or my QC material, I want to evaluate my reagents. So they wanted to choose a different method. But these are the templates or ideas we've come up with so far. But again, we want to focus on standardizing the process so that way you can get the peer comparison as more people get involved in this. Okay, so I just wanted to show you here that based on the pilot participants, we had a good mix of the QC assay configurations that they selected, covered all of them, and then a good mix of the methodologies. All right, so at phase 2, we collected the data, and we wanted to identify some preliminary things that we can work on to make the software better or more user-friendly. So this is, I'm going to go through these pretty quick, but the good news is, in some ways, the results we got pretty much flatline. You can see there's very little variation in the results. Okay, pretty straightforward. You'd expect that with forward blood typing. Okay, and I jumped to screening because I didn't need to show you every chart, but the screening, same thing, pretty much flat lines. Once in a while you get a 3+ or 2+ in there. Who knows what happened, but okay, so it's what you'd expect, right? All right, so let's go over now. At this point, I do want to say though, I think we need to keep moving forward. So I think from this point forward, we've already identified some things we're moving forward into phase 3, but there's still a lot of basics, and there's the other vendors that we need to add, and all the options that we're going to build for you. So I think from now on, we're going to be in phase 2, phase 3, and we're just going to keep flopping until we get you the product that's really working for the blood bank. Okay, so I want to go over the potential and future enhancements that we've worked on and some of them that we've achieved. The first one is, you know, we distribute HemoQC for our platforms. So we already have those QC lots loaded in the system with the template, the instrument. It's already loaded, so you don't have to build anything, okay? If you want to use a different method or a different tactic configuration, then you'd have to build your own. We also are identifying some generic patient sample configurations because a lot of our customers still use patient samples as QC material. So we want you to use the same configuration. You just select which one you want and use it in that order, again, for the peer comparison. So in going through this pilot, it was very evident to me that blood bankers already have more than enough to do, and this would never work if this required more work and effort. So ideally, it would be great if our Tango system could automatically download those results directly into Unity, but unfortunately, the software as it is currently written just cannot do that. We already have a plan, though, is that we've been successful getting Tango to communicate with IHCOM, which just got released with the IH1000. IHCOM is the patient data management system, so it also includes the quality control results, and that can automatically be transmitted then to Unity. So we've already worked out that as another option. Okay. The next idea is that many people who have Tango Infinity or Tango Optimo, they may not have any interface capability with Unity. However, they do have interface capability with either an LIS or data innovation software. And that would allow, that's another mechanism we can pursue to get those quality control results to download directly into Unity. Okay, and that's happened for many other automated platforms that Bio-Rad has provided in other areas of the lab. So this is a very viable option that we can pursue. Okay, and then finally, on the manual testing that we do, the fact that we are still recording our results on manual worksheets, surely in this day and age, we can do better and use the technology that's out there. So I don't see why we couldn't have a barcode scanning capability to get all of your reagent lot numbers, the expiration date, all that information scanned directly into Unity. And the only thing you'd have to do then is manually go in and enter your final results, which the majority of customers may be doing already in their LIS. So there's other options, and this one I can't guarantee, but I just don't see how that could not be something that we could get to work. But the whole thing, as we do this, I think the greatest benefit as we move through this pilot and really get people on board with using Unity software is the ability then to get this peer comparison. Okay, again, reiterating why we want the standardized formats
and configurations for you all to do the reporting. So to wrap all this up, here's the big challenge I have. And it's very interesting when I go back and look at the data from the pilot and I just go over all the aspects of what Unity can do. Before I go further, I do want to, it's just a whole different point, but let's drive this home. This is the final polling question. So when you're running QC, what is the most common graded reaction you get for a positive antibody screen? So go ahead and type in your answers. I'll give you a minute. All right, interesting. So according to your responses, approximately 90-something, 93% of the responses came out that you're getting a 3+ or 4+, which is exactly what I've seen. And if I'm talking about quality control, that applies. And even if I look at the CAP proficiency surveys, I just grabbed one and threw it up here as an example. This one showed 98% got 3+, 4+ reactions. So whether I'm talking quality control or if I'm talking proficiency survey material, we like really strong reactions or very negative reactions. And really, I think there might be a bit of a problem with that. Reason being, when I go back and look at that new reagent lot acceptability, and I scroll down a little further in the notes, it actually says a weekly positive sample should also be used in systems where patient results are reported in that fashion. Do we not all have weekly reacting patient samples? We do. We do. We have a lot of them. And in fact, if I look at the FDA adverse event website, there's a lot of antibodies missed every year. No matter which method, no matter which vendor, which automated platform, it doesn't matter. We all miss them. They don't react necessarily the way we want. So with that said, when I look at our Levey-Jennings chart, this one here is the only one I could find. It's not an antibody screen. This is for B cells. But what's interesting is I chose this one because it was the only one that showed me any variability. I had flat lines across the board, but that's not how our patients react all the time. So I do think we have to address those weaker reactions in the middle that really we're ignoring for the most part. Okay. One final thought, too, about why we think we should also track the blood typing reagent performance. And that's, for the most part, things are very positive, very strong, very negative. I get it. But when I look at this automated testing survey, right, the JAT survey here as an example, I only have less than 1% of the population that participated in this study that got different answers. But you know what we don't know? This is a spot check in time. I have no idea what the patient volume is that they're testing. And we have no idea what is really happening because this is just a spot check. If I'm tracking and trending quality control data from all these facilities and I can compare those results, then I can see something if there's really big problems going on. It's all about patient care. So when I look at this, I go, I think blood bankers have to step back, go back to the basics and look at what are we really doing for quality control? Is it really adequate for patient care? And I think by using Unity, the whole point is to add value. I don't want to add work. I want to add value. And I want it to be totally about the patient and us doing the right thing because we can and we should. We don't need more regulations to tell us how to take care of our patients. So that's my challenge to you is one, let us give you Unity, let's collect the data, let's get you set up, let's see what we find, do the peer comparisons just like the rest of the lab, get on board, and then see where we need to go as an industry. That's all I've got. Any questions?